Welcome everybody to the Atheist Society lecture for September 2024. Before I introduce our speaker, I want to acknowledge the fact that Facebook is the one that brought us together. Because when you click on things when you like things on Facebook, you keep getting more feeds of that, and so that's how I came across the rationalist discussion group through various members and their posts, and that's how we've come to invite our speaker tonight. So, Rakshith Sridharan, if I said it correctly.
Yeah, that's correct. Rakshith Sridharan.
Okay, so his topic tonight: religions and their socio-economic impact.
Yeah.
And Rakshith is in the Rational Thinkers from India, and he's on Zoom tonight from India. So therefore, it's a different time zone. So thank you very much for making the effort to come along. So I'll hand it over to you now. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. So I welcome all people, and for security purposes, I'm just not showing my face, but maybe I can show it in private after the recording is over. Apologies, but yeah. So I come from a very orthodox religious family background, but over a period of time, I did study about religion. I read about different aspects of society within that, how it influences the history and the economics and the empires. So it kind of created very interesting impression that religion as a tool is a very good mythology for an empire, basically. And that's how I came to see it. And they kind of broke away a lot of my own preconceptions regarding afterlife and all those sort of things, which is very common thing if you talk about Eastern religion and reincarnation. So yeah, a lot of things did go away. But the main thing, if we look at worldwide religion today, especially if you look at religions today, they have become a socio-economic tool, basically. So in earlier days, go back, say 300, 400, 500, maybe 1,000, 2,000 year back, religions were like what you can call as the old political ideologies. Basically, if you wanted to build an empire and you wanted to do conquest, you needed an army. But how will you gather an army who will blindly listen to you? Nobody is going to listen to you just like that. So you needed to create a new social structure, which required priests, which required the storytellers, and which required some people to show off some ability of like, they have supernatural ability because they are empowered by God, and that's how mythology got created and people came to attract. And when the emperor claimed that he is somewhat espousing that belief system, people were ready to join. You look at history of all the empires, that will stand true as well. I mean, there is no much difference. But what it also did is it created in another socio-economic structure. It created a superstructure. So now it was not just about king. Initially, the kings could control the priest and tell them that, okay, I will decide what you will do, what you are supposed to tell. But over a period of time, it became completely reversed. It was not about the king, it was all about the priests. So you can see the rise of priestdom, where the priests had this job that they used to collect money in the name of removing the sins from your life, giving you assurance of afterlife heaven, and blah, blah, blah. And what they did with that money is they started this banking structures, lending it out and making them indebted to them, basically. And it turns out, more often than not, kings became indebted to the church. So no longer the king was the authority, but it was the priest controlling the church, the temple, and those, they became the authority. So here is where the socio-economic superstructure emerges in the history. Now you took a lot of money from priest, which he collected from the people who were believing that they will be absolved of sins, they will get heaven, they will have a good reincarnation or afterlife, and that money needed to be paid back. But the question is, how do you pay back? Well, you need a lot of resources. Well, how do you get resources? Oh, you get it from neighboring kingdom, but neighboring kingdom won't give you those resources. So what do you do? You do wars. And whom will you recruit in the war? You will recruit the same people who donated to the religious organization. You will recruit them as part of your army. And that's the standard story of every single empire in the history. You just pull up any single empire. There is not a single empire that didn't borrow a lot of money, didn't build a military, and in order to pay back that money, it needed a lot of resources, and it went on an expansion spree. And and then over a period of time, especially during the medieval period, basically, around say 13th century or uh, 14th century, new group of people started to have an influence. We started calling, in Europe it was called merchants. In India we call them as goldsmith and blacksmiths. In some other places, some other. So basically they were group of the early financiers, financial group. Now these two did emerge from the church. However, they broke away later on. They became, their exclusive job became hoarding the gold and using the gold to keep on loaning. And these people did dual things. On one hand, they would keep on loaning the people, they'll keep on exploiting people. And when the people got exploited, then their land was stolen. Okay? What they did was they used to tell, the church father told us that, oh, you went against the church orders. That became a very good excuse. And they could manipulate the king, and they could take help of the church as well. So you see this rise of another group within this structure. And in the last 200, 300-year period, what has happened is religion, when you see the rise of secularism in France, in Europe, around the world, and many other parts of British Empire which were colonized, when secularism started rising, it so happened that the business class, which could pull the strings with the king and with the priest, the same started funding NGOs, the religious foundations, and they started telling, oh, these people will do charity, and in the name of charity they'll start converting people. And it kind of became, so now it has become to such an extent that it has become a geopolitical tool. Okay, so today if you want a land to be occupied, all you need to do is, if a businessman is there, he can give money to religious group, and the religious group will justify the exploitation of the poor and of the indigenous people, and they'll tell, you need to sell off this land. By selling of this land, you will be absolved of the sins, you will attain heaven, I'm going to pray for you, accept your sins. Gullible people who may not understand the complex economic structure, they end up buying and they end up selling the land. Land is sold to the church, and the church gives the land to the business people at a profitable rate, and it continues. In fact, there is a very famous quote by uh, Desmond Tutu, who was from Africa. He said, when the missionaries first came, they had the Bible and the candle in their hand, and we had the land in our hand. But when they left, they had the land, and I had the Bible and candle in my hand. So it kind of sums up very simply that religion was always a tool of empires, initially started, which went from the hand of kings to the priests to the merchants to the business, and that's how it works. So it's a very good tool of manipulation. You look at today global terror crisis when we talk about Islam. Yesterday 9/11, nobody can forget about 9/11. I mean, this was one of the tragic history. It was a tragic event in the 21st century. But what fueled this was not like it happened suddenly. This was decades of government and lobbies spending money to fund the terrorists. You had Osama bin Laden, who himself, as it turned out, came from a very wealthy family. So it's often told uh, religious terror groups come from very poor background. What you're looking at is just the foot soldier. The foot soldier of the religious groups might come from a very poor background. Okay, but if you look at the people who propagate religion, who propagate the ideology, they come from a very wealthy background. Osama bin Laden was a software engineer. He briefly worked with even the U.S. intelligence agencies. He was also responsible in the Mujahideen funding to defeat Soviet Union. So he comes from a very influential guy, very influential person. But can the wealth alone, just because you become wealthy and you become educated, does that take away the extremism, the extremist element of the need to expand the religion and expand the empire? No. So here is a classical. So he kept funding the Al Qaeda. He funded the 9/11 plane hijackers, and we saw what happened. So here is a very classical example of how economics, war, debt, and religion are connected. So religion is like plays the role of a fevicol. If you have observed how fevicol works, it joins the elements, right? Now imagine if you have a country and you want an entire country to be brought under that sway. What do? It's a very poor country, but there are some elite people who are very rich. Politicians talk about it; they're very rich. As a matter of fact, you look at the wealth of the terror leaders of ISIS, Al Qaeda. They're rich, very influential. They get quite a lot of funding. But here is the thing: they never use it for any productive purposes. All they do is they tell the gullible people that, hey, either way, you're going to be the winner if you fight for us. If you die, you will get Jannat. You will go to heaven. Okay. But if you win, you get the land, you get the gold, you get the money, basically. So people end up joining. Even among Western people who convert to Islam, they end up joining ISIS, which there are quite a lot of evidence among that. So that's what you're seeing in the world today. And as the crisis deepens, social crisis or economic, more often than not in modern day, it's the economic issues. That's what people should be talking about. We are living in the age of digitalization. We are living through the age of AI. We are living through ages of tremendous upheavals. I mean, economic, geopolitical, you can call it whatever. Those are the main issues. But the religious people would like you to believe that no, what's the main issue is that you need to defend the priesthood, you need to defend the religion, you need to defend the concept, whether by force or by crook or whatever means, that after your death you will attain heaven. That's the concept that's need to be defended. So what does this leave us with is a society where you curtail the alternative ways of thinking, basically. Okay. And if you look at the European history or even worldwide history, it's very common thing that whenever the economic crisis deepens, you start seeing the rise of religious fanaticism as well. They go hand in hand. I mean, it's a very good business here, basically. If you ask me what is the cheapest way of doing business, all you need to do is you open a religious place of organization and you make a very free money. You don't need to produce anything. You don't need to innovate. You don't need to do any research and development. Nothing. Basically, all you need to tell is you need to sell the faith. You need to do, even if it means fake miracle, do it. Even if it means little bit of acting, do it. But you can be a billionaire. You can be a millionaire easily. So, and these same people end up funding the terrorist groups as well. That's often the case, as we see. So here it's almost like a parallel economy. You know, when you look at the religious organization, the way they run today, it's almost like completely parallel economy. They have their own GDP, they have their own black market, they have their own per capita. They are not under any tax obligations. It's almost a parallel system, basically. And well, do they really use that money for any useful purpose? Not much. Most of it is used for conversion or training or, um, uh, as we will see, the terror activities, unfortunately. So, what you are seeing today is a parallel economy running, basically, in the name of religion. Completely different from the mainstream calculation of GDP and how the economy works, basically. And it has a dual purpose. The religious system has a dual purpose. It's just not about economic exploitation. It's also about the gender exploitation. So this it does by uh, redefining the gender. It will tell, okay, women are supposed to be like that. They're not supposed to think. They're not supposed to ask questions. They need to be in the home. They need to have only children. They need to only work. They they should not try and think too much. They should not ask questions. And then same thing is told to men, that men are supposed to only fight for the religion. I mean, have you seen a church or any religious institution that has said, men come back to us, we will help you train and we'll get you good job in a good company? No, all they do is they'll say, hey, you pay us so and so many amount of dollars and you uh, give us donation. We run the charity organizations. We will help you with whatever you want. And you just need to keep coming every Sunday. You just need to keep coming for the Bible prayer every week. That's all. They never tell that why the situation is like that about him, how he can get out, and what are the proper means of doing that. They never discuss that. So more often than not, you will see elite group, same elite group who will run the normal business, the market, will also enter the religious organization when the same poor people, same employees, they are fired from the companies. They come back to the religious organization, and to the same group of people, they will tell, hey, don't look for jobs. You have a better things than this, you will get heaven. You just need to keep donating us the money. So do you see duplicity here? You are almost earning double money, dual business. I mean, that's like, wow, either way. So if I imagine I am running a company of software engineers and my business has gone down, but I know that I need to maintain my personal wealth. What do I do? Okay, I fire some people because market is not good. But I am also a member of a temple or a religious group whose job is all about why the other religious group is bad, and you need to support us, and why our uh, theology is right, why our philosophy is right, and why we need donation. Okay. I'm also a member of that NGO. So the software people whom I probably fired, they're dissatisfied in their life, they are stressed out, they're not getting job. My company, I managed to maintain profit because I fired people. And imagine that same people whom I fired, one day they come back to that organization's meeting and uh, they're hopeless. They say, hey, what do you, hey, you fired us. Can you please give us the new job? But instead of I giving the job, if I say, no, you just need to pray to the God. You need to pray to the Lord. You need to think bigger. Job, money, family, they're temporary. They will just end when you die. You cannot live long on this earth. So do one thing, give us a monthly donation of so and so dollars. We will help you find whatever you need. You will in turn get a job. Just be hopeful. Everything will be all right. Just work hard. Everything will be fine. So I'm not only earning my money from my regular business, but I'm also earning good money very cheaply from religious groups, religious organization, from temples, the church, the mosque, you name it. It's a classic. Another example. We know Zakir Naik, who has been a known extremist. But if you were to ask anybody what's his background, well, he's a doctor. I mean, that sounds like great. So that means he must have good knowledge about science. He must be promoting science since he's a doctor. But if anybody has watched the videos of Zakir Naik, he never promotes science. He promotes pseudoscience. He promotes logical fallacy. He promotes almost all the unscientific claim that you can think about, basically. Imagine he might be running a clinic. If he was a doctor, he might be earning like, let's say, $1 lakh per meeting, okay, per month. You know how much Zakir Naik earns when he holds a religious congregation? He earns millions, billions, profitable business. So if he were to do the job of a clinic and this, he is a billionaire today, easily. He can travel anywhere. He can go to Indonesia, he can go to Qatar, he can go to Bahrain, Malaysia, all these countries who have very high per capita GDP in terms of economies, their oil economy, and they do really well. So, so you're seeing how religion today is. So if anybody today comes and says and talks that miracles are happening, you can be 100% sure that it's a very much a profitable business. It's a parallel economy. Usually, if you were to ask any economist today whether they count the money spent in the religious groups as part of the GDP, it's never counted as part of the GDP. All the money that you spend in the church, in the mosque, in the temple, in other places, they're not counted as part of the GDP, basically. So it's kind of a black market in its own way. It's a parallel economy, basically. And this parallel economy gets to decide how the social structures are going to be, how the society is going to function, you know. And as a matter of fact, even we know there are evidence of cryptocurrencies being used by the terrorist organizations. There are plenty of terrorist organizations around the world who do use cryptocurrency to bypass, the regular economy and the transaction. So that's what I said. We are going through a lot of technological upheaval, and we are also seeing the rise of fanaticism. I mean, we also see the rise of anti-Semitism, uh, probably the highest since 1930s. But having said that, I have my own take on Israel-Palestine issue. I think it's a humanitarian issue. I mean, we need to look at the human lives lost on both the side. I mean, Palestinian women, children, journalists, and at the same time, the Jewish civilians. So here, human lives do matter. We need to look at from the humanitarian point of view. And I definitely hope for a ceasefire. Though I'm not saying that one needs to defend Hamas or terror organization, but I think there needs to be a negotiation deal and a ceasefire at least. And this needs to stop. That's my take. That where I have an independent thought. And I think it's again, as I said, this has more to do with the local geopolitics beyond religion. I mean, we know Iran has a very bigger role to play in this fiasco. So yeah, I mean, my take is this needs to stop. At least there needs to be ceasefire and there needs to be negotiations. And the hostages should be released in return for all the humanitarian aid and about the Palestinian people. So if you even if this is my take on this issue, okay. So I hope this is a very brief explanation about how the religions work today, basically. Just a few months back, last year report, Ismail Hania, who was shot dead, who was taken down by Israel. His net worth is around $13 billion. Imagine $13 billion, and the Palestinian women and children are starving to death in Gaza. No food to eat, nothing. Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of Palestinian Authority, how much his net worth? Well, his net worth is in another 5 billion, 6 billion net worth. But look at the West Bank. They're being attacked. He doesn't do anything. Basically, the people are starving. They don't have water. They don't have electricity. He never uses that money to help them. Uh, Similarly, look at Netanyahu. His net worth is around 82 million. He has a corruption charge within the Israel court, and he expects Israelis to fight while his son is away in Texas, basically. So this is what I say, the hypocrisy of the religious groups, basically, hypocrisy. If you look at the mullahs from Pakistan, they will tell people that you need to do suicide bombing because we will attain heaven. While they never send their son, or neither they themselves go on suicide bomb mission, but they will send common folks who are their foot soldiers to die in the wars. I mean, the biggest victim of the religious extremism and the wars are the common followers of that religion, basically, the common folks. The people who preach about the religion, who talk, who ask you for donation, they will never take any extreme, they will never do suicide bombing. They will never be on the front line. They will be on the last line while they control and use you as a puppet, basically. So that's what we need to understand, how the religions have begun from the beginning as a tool of empire expansion by kings, how it went into the hands of the priests, and how from the priest how it went into the hands of the merchants and trader, and from now it has gone to big businesses who control almost all the NGOs, basically. So yeah, that's my brief, but I would like to hear more questions and takes from the people. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks very much for that talk. Now, before we go to any questions, I'd just like to any announcements we have for our local audience here. I know the other groups that have meetings. I know the skeptics have got a meeting next Monday. That's about the future of medicine in the Stolberg Hotel. We still have our monthly first Friday of the month pub night and third Friday of the month pub night. Just express our gratitude to our hosts from the Unitarian Church Hall here, which we're very grateful to be able to use. we're going to make a little collection. If anyone has anything they could contribute, we'll just pass that round. Okay, well, I just want to, I want to say something about it. I mean, I think everyone would agree with you, Rakshith, about the imperialist nature of religion, and they've all been spread by force of arms, generally speaking, as well, particularly in the age of imperialism. And you mentioned the conflict in Gaza. I think people overlook to some extent the religious nature of that, because initially the founders of Israel weren't actually they're more atheists than Jewish, but the whole situation there has become
Yeah.
very
So
much connected with religion, because they think that that God gave them the land, and then the other side think that God wants them to eradicate non-Muslims. So it's a very
I
involved
think
with religion.
we need to look at the statement that came after the 7th October, when some of the Israeli minister were saying human animals, basically, and they
Yeah,
also said another thing. They were quoting from the Old Testament about Amaleks. The Amalek, it's from the Jewish history where the Amalek, their family, the children, the sheep, the women, everybody was slaughtered. They were quoting from that, basically. So it's kind of gone. I mean, today, if you look at Israel's politics, it has gone far right. Far right in the sense religious extremist of the literal scripture, who want scriptural laws to be followed within Israel. They are trying to dictate the policy, foreign policy of Israel, basically. So actually, that's what is happening here. We need to look at that. Basically, you look at the administration's alliances. Most of the alliance partner for Netanyahu are highly far right, ultra orthodox religious political organization who believe Torah or Talmud has to be the religious law of Israel instead of a secular or a democratic constitution. So that's what we need to consider here as well.
absolutely. I think that this is why we have to really put forward the cause of atheism and secularism, because it's the only way out of all these conflicts. But unfortunately, we seem to be getting deeper and deeper into conflict. And I might also mention that there's a program on TV here which exposed the religious nationalists in the United States who are the main supporters of Trump. And they're the 30% of the US population, and they all vote because they're all told twice a week when they go to church that they have to go out and support Trump.
Again,
Trump is the agent of God in their view.
whether Trump is agent of God or not, I don't know. But US dollar is in serious trouble. $35 trillion debt is not a joke. Can you imagine a Roman Empire printing money, 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 and at last stage the Roman Emperor adopts Christianity. He wages war in the name of Christianity, and suddenly he persecutes all the people. 5th century, the Roman Empire collapses within 100 years. So, as I said, economics and the situation when it gets worse, you also see the rise of religion. So, religious fanaticism is a reaction. Basically, it's a reaction to the kind of scenario that's being happening due to the internal domestic economic crisis, basically. No, I mean, a lot has to be looked at that as well. That's what Karl Marx said, right? Religion is the opium of the masses. So yeah, we need to look and understand why that happens.
Yes, I think it's true. Religion it's used as a tool to subdue the masses and benefit the capitalist class. Question for you,
Yeah, yeah,
because
sure.
what other people particularly are interested in thinking about India is how religion, particularly the Hindu religion, has become a lot more forceful, and the original secular nature of India seems to be going down the drain. So Do you have a view on that, and can you comment on that, please?
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. So I guess this has again, as I said, this also comes down to the reactionary ideologies, basically. So in India, actually, if you look at Hinduism in general, Hinduism is somewhat pantheistic to classify. Pantheistic mix of polytheism, lots of gods, different ways of worship. And it's not like the Hinduism in one region remains the same, it also varies, okay? But the kind of Hinduism that you see currently in India is what you can call it as political Hinduism, just like Israel has political Zionism, basically. So it's politically motivated, you know. So this kind of has been a reaction to what they tend to perceive as some sort of degradation of society, basically. It's unironic that even before the rise of Hindutva or these type of far right groups, India was, it's not like they had given up Hinduism. Hinduism was continuing regularly, and you had social reformers and everything. But this came, I think, as a backdrop to maintain certain status quo, to maintain certain level of hegemony of traditional upper caste and elites. It initially started that way. Today, it has become a kind of a political tool to harass the minorities, to harass the Muslims, the Christians, to all others. It's become it's like saying, I'm a Hindu. Look, I'm more liberal than you because I'm Hindu. I follow all the religion. So you don't have the right to do these things. I can impose my will on you. So the kind of psychological argument goes like that. And if you were to debate with a Hindu today, they will also give you the same argument while defending the far right, saying our religion is very liberal. See, we have polytheistic God, we have many gods, there is no restriction, blah blah blah. So it's a kind of imposing your superiority because that thing makes us feel like superior, and hence we like to need to impose the political will on all other groups, basically. So while it may claim, and I'm not denying that there are no Islamic extremisms within India, I think that that is there, that is a serious problem. In part, that has also contributed to their rise. But inherently, if you ask me, what is the fuel or what is the ideology that motivates that? It's basically the feeling of superiority. Because our religion is so complex, we have a lot of texts, so hence others must be inferior and they must be subordinate to us. It's basically like a very apartheid way of thinking, first class, second class. The far right, that's how they like to think, unfortunately.
I think that's true. Every religious believer has a sense of superiority because it's not just that they're the chosen ones, but they've got the right religion, they're chosen, and they're going to have a nice afterlife, and everyone else is condemned. And so there's an inherent sort of sense of superiority and elitism that's promoted by religions, and they use it as a tool to get followers. So
Yeah,
it's quite an insidious thing about the whole concept of religion. Had a very interesting talk, and um,
yeah,
maybe not many people have any questions. So I think we might just say thank you very much, and we very much appreciate you speaking to us tonight, or in afternoon your time.
yeah, yeah, sure. My pleasure.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Rakshith.
Thanks. Would like to have more future conversations with you. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.